I mean, I ran out of there before he had time to run me off.
Boy, you all being very candid about this. Now, why did you run so fast?
I was scared.
If you had a clear conscience, what were you scared of?
It ain't safe for a Negro to be in a fix like that.
Boy, you weren't in a fix. You testified that you were simply resisting male you. Now, were you so scared that she would hurt you that you ran? A big buck like you?
I was scared of winding up in court like I am now.
You were scared of arrest. You were scared that you'd have to come here today and to fess up to what you did.
No, I was scared I'd have to face up to what I didn't do.
Are you being impudent to me, boy?
No, sir. I don't mean to be.
You know, I can't quite put into words just yet what it's meant for me to experience the passion, the wisdom, the insight, and the personal pain and emotional aspect of James Baldwin. So a friend of mine asked me to go see him in a local production of To Kill a Mockingbird. He's been getting into his new acting career, and I just wanted to go support him. The connections here just really threw me for a loop.
Let's start from the vantage point. So down in Alabama, where you're doing a lot of research for this, you were telling me something backstage that I thought was sort of astonishing, is the number of schools named for Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson.
Well, we have this story in our head. You know, this book was written, the case that I talk about was out of Monroeville, Alabama. Monroeville is the community where Harper Lee grew up and wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. And if you go to people there, they love that story, and they love celebrating that story. But we have an innocent African-American man being sent to death row for a crime he didn't commit, and there's no consciousness about that. In the South, we love talking about history. We've got Confederate monuments and memorials everywhere. The two largest high schools are Robert E. Lee High and Jefferson Davis High. They're 99% black. If you'd come there 9 months ago, we have 59 monuments and memorials to the Confederacy, and not a single word about slavery. And that narrative, that story that we're telling, has to be complicated by the truth. Well, you know, I started my education in a colored school because the schools were still racially segregated. The county where my father grew up didn't have a black high school. He had to leave. My grandmother was the daughter of people who were enslaved. And all of these realities have lasting consequences. You know, in Germany, there was the Holocaust, a horrific, horrific history. But if you go there, you are required to confront that legacy. There are monuments and memorials, and there are totems that make you have to deal with that. In this country, we try to hide that history, and it manifests itself in tragic ways. And if we commit ourselves to just relations, to justice in every circumstance, that's when we begin to create an environment where you own up to the legacy of racial inequality. You own up to a wrongful conviction. You own up to the mistakes of calling some children super predators when you know they're just children.
Transformative learning, getting at people's embedded assumptions about how the world works, which can often create what we call a disorienting dilemma. Life is not the way you thought it was. There's more. So this relationship between what's internal, the biases, the prejudices, of course, the unconscious bias, the internalized oppression, internalized racism, internalized superiority, and the wounds are carried forth and expressed in our interpersonal relationships. They are expressed in our family, in the places that we work. They are expressed in our institutions and embedded in our policies and laws. And they are expressed and unseen as a structure. Conversation, I think, is a lot of ways an example of what happens when we get engaged in this dialogue. We don't get to finish anything. We don't get to fix anything, right? But we can be engaged in the moment. And hopefully what happens is that we begin to use the capacity to talk to one another to deepen our thinking.
He turned me down, and then I go to my little mother, my dear mother.
We teach from who we are.
I said, Mother, I'm down on my knees. But there was a time that I thought, Lord, this could last very long. Somehow I thought I was still able to try to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know the change gotta come. It's been so long, I lived too long, but the change has gotta come. So tired of suffering, standing by myself and standing up alone, but the change has gotta come. You know, and I know, you know that, I know, and you know, honey, that a change is gonna come.
Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
Don't just stand around. Don't just stand around. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off.